Here now is Lisa Bell and Candace Campos with Florida Foodie. Sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on Florida Foodie. I'm Lisa Bell, and today we are joined by an entrepreneur who is growing her brewing business.
Yes, and I'm Candace Campos. It's interesting because the founder is one of just a few women-owned breweries in the entire country. Just recently bought Sanford Brewing Company, which, by the way, would have closed otherwise.
That's right. We are so happy to be joined today by Shara Pathak, who is the founder of Brewlando. Thank you so much for joining us on Florida Foodie.
Thank you guys for having me. This is exciting.
Well, you're telling me because you brought lots of treats, which unfortunately I don't think we can really indulge in a whole lot.
But give me just a few hours.
No, but we can already smell like some of the aromas coming from the wine and the brews. It is amazing. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background, because as Candace mentioned, you're one of the very few female minority-owned breweries in the country.
2%, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So it was not something that I intended to jump into. I owned a building and had a tenant in there that was a microbrewery, and supported them through the infancy of their brand, which was approximately 3 years. And COVID, affected their business like so many other businesses, and finally in December of 2019 they decided that they were going to shelve it. So at that time I actually was going to put the lock on the door and I was going to give it to a business broker, and the employees reached out to me, and it was 2 weeks before Christmas. And for people who know me well, I have a very, very soft heart, which sometimes gets me into trouble. But I really thought long and hard about it, and I decided that if they could sell enough of the beer, which remained from the inventory from Castle Church, which was the brewery that was there before, that I would continue giving them a paycheck. So I said, I'll keep the lights on if you guys sell the beer, and you have a job here until you find another job. and that was how this started.
That was very kind, a nice Christmas gift.
Yeah. So were you a big beer fan prior to that?
Truth be told, not particularly. I do enjoy a nice beer, and it actually was one of the reasons that I helped that brewery as much as I did, because I really felt like they had exceptional quality beer. You could just taste the difference, and so I just felt like it would be a matter of time if I helped them along and pushed them across, that eventually they'd be able to forge ahead.
And this is in a location kind of near Orlando International Airport on Hoffner, just to give people an idea of this building that you had been leasing out to these people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. It's 5 miles from MCO. It occupies 50% of a 20,000 square foot building, and so the brew house and tap room is actually 10,000 square foot, which is very big compared to the average size of microbreweries. It was one of the things that I actually was not really concerned about, but I was quite surprised by when they were building out, because it was such a large space. They invested in very expensive equipment, the best of the best German brewing equipment, and usually you walk into a microbrewery and it's a relatively small space.
So sometimes almost feels like family owned, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And we do have that at Brewlando. It's something that we work hard to foster as our community spirit, but it's a pretty big tap room and brew house out there.
How'd you come up with the name Brewlando?
Well, it's a funny story. So it was supposed to be, I thought, look, if we're going to do this for the short term, let's
for
do
the
it
short
right.
term.
Yeah, no, it was that was always what I said. Let's just do it right, and let's have some fun with it, and let's come up with something that is meaningful. And so we thought, well, look, we're in Orlando, and let's focus on Orlando. And so it was supposed to be the City Beautiful Brewing. That was the name we came up with. My cousin and I, she's my creative director in the other businesses that we have. We came up with a logo, we registered the business. I even had promotional products on order.
Okay.
And then got a call from the attorney, and she said, well, there could be a potential problem. You know, there's another brand that has a style of beer that's called the City Beautiful Brewing. And so I thought, you know what, I definitely don't need to be spending any extra money, certainly not on legal fees, so let's just shelf that. And then I thought, great, I wasted the last 3 nights of my life. Let's sit here and figure something else out. And it, you know, we gathered, my husband was there, some friends, my dad, and we were all sitting at the bar, and I said, look, we need to find a name. Like, I gotta find a name here. At this point, it is I think it's the first week, no, it's the end of December. And we obviously are trying to open this thing up in 2 weeks. And so we just, you know, there was a lot of ideas flying around, and I don't even know where it came from. And I was like, well, we need to find something with brewing and Orlando. And so, and then it came out. And my dad just walked over and he shook my hand. He's like, that's it.
It's
Were
great.
you drinking beer during that process?
I was not myself, but everybody else was. I was extremely nervous. It was, I mean, it was a massive undertaking. It is a massive if at that point I knew that I was going to keep it, I probably would have died from anxiety. But because it was temporary, I was like, oh, we could do this.
Isn't that nice how it kind of started? You're like, just throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
Exactly.
But my goodness, has it stuck? So now you went from that and near Hoffner, and now you have like a wine beer tasting room. Yeah. So tell us, what was the next step after that?
So first of all, you know, I think that it's really important, no matter what business you're in, to build the right team. It's that team of people that really determines, you know, the success or the demise of your brand and your business. So along the way, when I started this, it was that we were going to find another owner operator, and I was going to find another tenant. And in that search, we were introduced to a big conglomerate brand that actually originated from Trinidad, which is where I was born. Fun fact. And their team came on board, and I thought that they were going to expand their brand into Central Florida, which is what the idea was. And ultimately, it was not, I didn't feel like it was the right move. But the long and short of it is that I was blessed and extremely lucky that their CEO of 15 years shared the passion, shared the vision, thought that this place had a lot of potential, thought it was very different, and he'd been involved in very big name brands like Yingling. And so it was a huge compliment to me when he said that, right? And he said, and I told him, I said, I as much as I want this thing to land in the right hands, I do have to be really careful, because if a second brewery comes in here and doesn't make it, that's it. You don't get a third go around there. Exactly. And so he actually, you know, unbeknownst to me at the time, he was thinking about coming out of that big box, big brand space, and just happened to stumble across us in this, you know, serendipitous, I guess, exchange.
It's meant to be.
Yep. And said to me, look, I was actually getting ready to leave the brand. There was a few things that I wanted to do, and you know, one thing led to another. And I said, well, look, I think that if there's potential with this, I'm willing to make the investment. I just don't have the time. And so he came on board and built out a great team. And I think within like the first year, he had gone to a golf tournament. We sponsored a hole there, and the CEO of Icon Park was a guest of somebody that attended the tournament, started talking to James Webb, who's our CEO. And you know, he said, you know, craft beer is something that's getting more and more popular, and I'd like to do something at Icon Park. and we decided that, hey, well, let's make a beer for you.
Yeah.
So we actually make 2 beers for them, and it's co-branded. It's an Icon Park Brewlando brew that they serve in their wheelhouse. And from there, the discussion started. And again, funny story, I had a meeting with the CEO for my tech business. We had a lunch meeting, and we go to this lunch meeting, and on that day was the day that this space became available in Icon Park, and we never actually even ended up talking about the tech business. No. And within a year, we had taken it over. We gutted that spot. I don't know, some people might be familiar with it. It used to be a hookah bar. And so we went in and we completely renoed the entire space and decided that we were going to come out with a different concept. And we thought, why not open a winery and a tasting room? So
that's interesting, because you jumped from being a brewery, so now you're offering wines as well.
And we do make our signature pear secco at the winery location.
Pear secco.
Yes. So it's
I love the names that you come up with.
Yes, so funny.
No, it's basically it's a pear-based cider. So cider is typically apple-based. This is a pear-based cider with all natural fruit, nothing artificial, and so that gives it the flavor and the sweetness, and then we've got some bubbly in there, which kind of makes it a pear favorite champagne.
Yeah.
Obviously on iDrive you are now catering to an international audience, and I think having a name like Brewlando makes sense, out there, because people know kind of exactly what they're getting.
I'm in Orlando. This is Orlando. I want to bring back something back in Orlando.
So, and then from there you're expanding even more.
Yes. So again, once again,
what's serendipity?
I know.
Correct. I'm so glad that you use that word, because that's what it seems like. These opportunities just kind of fall into your lap, and you've turned them into gold.
Well, I consider myself extremely lucky, because I have, I think, first of all, I'm extremely spiritual. So I believe that the energy that you put out into the world comes back. That's one. And I have just an enormous support group behind me, right, through friends and family and all of the people that work with us. I mean, our manufacturing employees are like cheering me on from the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
But I don't believe in coincidence, and so on the tough days, I tell myself that I know that I was meant to be in this spot, and that's what I try to focus on, because I do have some tough days. I think people look at me from the outside and are like, oh yeah, you make it look really easy, and it's not. Yeah. But I was watching the Sunday night NFL game between the Steelers and the Jets. My sister-in-law and her family are huge Steelers fans. They're from Pittsburgh, and so I don't usually watch the game to the very end on a Sunday night, but it was just a really good game. And so somewhere coming up towards the end, they start having the news like highlights, right, of what's coming up next. And I saw that the Sanford Brewing Company had announced that they were closing their doors, and the interview was coming up. So I was just, being in the industry, I was a little interested, and I waited.
Competition.
Yeah, what feel
bad.
Yes. Yeah, it's because it's really, we've watched a lot of microbreweries close down here in Central Florida in the last couple of years. It's it can be a very competitive and difficult space, right? So there is that level of empathy and sympathy when these things happen, and I thought, let me just, being in the industry, let me just kind of hear what was going on. And the assistant manager of the Sanford Brewing Company's Maitland branch went to WESH TV and wanted to tell the story and wanted to bring awareness to the fact that they were closing their doors after 8 years. And what was particularly impressive to me was that all of the staff essentially said, we're going to be here until the last day that these doors close, right? And it just, he just talked about their passion for the brand, and I thought that was really admirable. And I decided then, obviously, what do you do next? You go to social media to see like what's there. So I'm looking at this in the middle of the night, and quite a few mixed reviews news, a lot of negativity, and I mean, and that's the unfortunate thing when these things happen. A lot of people, I think, develop opinions that are based completely on things that are not factual, and so I have a lot of sympathy for that, just now being in it myself. And you know, I read all of the comments, and what they were focusing on was trying to sell the building, because at that time there was a lot of, I think, attention on the fact that the owners hadn't been able to pay the staff for almost 2 months. So you know, at that point I thought, okay, maybe I could do this quick real estate passive transaction.
Sure, I've heard this story before.
And buy this building in Sanford, and you know, so I called
it. It has all the equipment you would potentially need.
I didn't even think about that. It wasn't even the equipment. I just thought, hey, Chuck, who's my real estate business partner, he said, hey, there's a building out there, and they're, you know, it used to be a brewery, they're closing down. I thought that they had already made some kind of provision for their equipment, and that I didn't even think about it.
Separately.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. It was, okay, this is a good property in the heart of downtown Sanford, which is a growing city,
very much.
Right, good opportunity for us to do something quick. And by doing that, we assist these people, we get the employees paid, and everybody wins, and you know, we flip it, and on we go.
Sure.
Don't believe it. Yep. 2 days later, I get a call, and they said, well, actually, it's not just the building. It's the building, it's the equipment, it's the whole business. And I was like, oh my gosh. Ta-da! So I called James Webb, and I said, James,
I have a new
this is the deal. I was actually driving to Tampa again for the NFL game. It was a Monday night game, and I said, I won't be back until tomorrow, but can you just go check it out? You know, it was in our roadmap at some point to expand our own capacity. And so I said, look, this may be maybe an opportunity, I don't know. And then James calls me back an hour and a half later, and he says, I think that there is good potential in doing this. And I had to pause for a minute and thought, oh my gosh.
And this is still pretty new from recording of this. I mean, you just signed, you know.
This is the end of 2024.
Correct.
So we're just in 2025.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, right. So just to give you an idea of the timeline, from the time that I saw this thing on the news to the time that it closed, it was less than 3 weeks.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, because we also had to move pretty quickly. There was some pressure with the Department of Labor, and it was important to us that the employees were taken care of. So we actually wrote that in the contract, and we had to get it done pretty quickly for those reasons. But yes, and I thought we just opened the winery like less than a month ago. We just opened the winery in October, and I thought, okay, let me just stop, let me breathe out. It's happening for a reason. Let's go with it. So that's how that happened.
So are you brewing at your original spot and now brewing in Sanford?
We will be.
I guess eventually.
Yes. Yep, we will be. And the great thing about the Sanford location is that in addition to their 15-barrel system, they also have a 3-barrel system, which means that we could make smaller batches of different things. So we are actually going to be using the Sanford Brewing Sanford location as our innovation hub.
Nice.
Trying out new stuff.
Correct. So we're going to use it almost like a lab.
So tell us what you brought here today. Even though we can't sample it.
Yeah. Smells.
Tease us with what you brought.
Well, the wines are just a little sample of 4 different wines that we carry at the winery. The winery and tasting room has over 65 different wines. And as you said,
is that on iDrive or is
it's on iDrive, right? So that's what we're featuring here with, these are our wine flights, which actually have been the most popular thing on the menu by far. People just like to try different wine.
Where do you manufacture all of these? You mentioned the Pear Seco.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we manufacture our Pear Seco, right? So that's what we are manufacturing at the winery. But all of the other wines that we carry are wines that we've curated from distributors that have some kind of special, significant story. We we avoid wines that you could get mainstream.
Yeah.
So
Grocery store.
correct.
Yeah.
So we want to get good quality wines that have, again, a good story behind it.
Different regions.
Correct.
Different
parts of the country, internationally, because we do see, like you mentioned, quite a bit of international travelers, and everybody has their preference, right? And our thing at Brewlando has always been there's something for everybody. So we continued with that.
Good hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good hook.
So we continued with that at the winery, and we thought, you know what, let's build something here that has something for everybody as well.
Is this the Pear Secco?
We did not bring the Pear Secco because the Pear Secco is not canned or bottled yet. I don't know. I don't know, James.
So you just have like a big old vat that you just serve it out of?
It's on tap. It's on tap.
Oh.
So when you come to the winery, so at the winery, we feature 7 of our most popular Brewlando beers there. At Brewlando, let's call it our headquarters on Hoffner, we have over 20 different styles that we manufacture, make there. So we've pulled out the 7 most popular ones along with the wines, but of course,
I love the look of this too.
Yeah.
It's just so. It's
I wanted something
you have just wood,
correct,
something flat.
I wanted to stay away from the wood. So it's funny that you said that, because everywhere else that you go and you get a flight, it's usually on a wooden tray. And I thought, let's just come up with something different, and so we ended up with this metal tray that we then continued. Thank you.
With the name in the front.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The brand, branding is important. I'm a marketing major, and so again, sometimes that's a good thing and a bad thing. But I'm extremely particular about how we do things and how we represent the brand, because I think that that also makes up a really important part of the experience for a customer and even for our staff and our team.
And so give us kind of a little rundown of some of these beers.
So today we brought our Red Lake Ale, and we brought our Belle Isle Blonde and our Oktoberfest. I know we have 5 tasting glasses here, so usually it's 5 different types that people get. But these are the ones that we have in cans that we could have brought to the studio today.
Really cute cans, by the way.
We are doing a little bit of a revamp on our can design because of the other locations that we're opening. So we have this like neat map that kind of shows the 4 different locations, and we want to kind of change the design a little bit to also encompass Sanford Brewing and what we're doing out there.
You said 4 different locations.
Well, because there's the main one, and then there's the winery, and now there's Sanford Brewing Maitland and Sanford Brewing in downtown
You
Sanford.
thought you were catching her in some breaking news, didn't you? So there's one in Maitland and there's one in Sanford.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
And did that come with the Sanford Brewing purchase, the location in Maitland?
Yes, so we bought the assets of Sanford Brewing. We didn't actually purchase their brand, which I think was a win-win-win for everybody. The employees got paid. Brewlando ended up with the assets that would help us to grow. And then the owners of Sanford Brewing, who obviously worked very hard in the 8 years, right, to build their brand, they get to keep their brand and they get to keep their IP. So at some point, they may make a comeback too.
And so you are going to be known as Brewlando in all 4 of those locations.
Yes. We didn't set out to do that, but along the way we decided that it was a much better arrangement if we just bought the assets and we kept everything as Brewlando.
Your location on iDrive, how many beer offerings do you offer out there?
We have 7 of, like I said, like the most popular ones, and we'll rotate those as well. With the other 2 locations that are opening and with our ability to do a lot more small batches, you will see a lot more, again, innovation, creativity. Correct. You'll see a lot more new things coming out, and we expect that between the 4 locations, we will never have inventory coming out of our taps that's more than 30 days old. Okay. And so that's huge.
That's so fresh.
Yes. So
you come from a family of entrepreneurs.
I do.
Right. So in your background,
What makes you
your
say
parents,
that?
and with multiple different businesses. Printing business, you mentioned, a tech business, never before a brewing business.
No.
So you embarked on this. What has surprised you most after growing up, being surrounded by entrepreneurs, growing up, surrounded, living and breathing business ownership? What has surprised you the most about this venture?
I would have to say the ability to adapt. You don't realize everything that's going to come at you when you jump into a new arena, especially the unknown, and the world of brewing is certainly the unknown for me. You don't realize how many moving parts actually come together to make up what is this business, and the ability to adapt with, again, the right team, the right attitude, staying positive, and also focusing on the opportunity and focusing on the good versus the bad. I think that that ends up doing wonders for you mentally, emotionally. It can be very taxing, but by far the ability that you have to overcome, the ability that you have to achieve things if you have the right mindset and the right attitude. So and
then you can have a big drink at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And say, cheers to that.
But that's such a great thing to also include in every part, every aspect of your life too. It's all about the mindset, which it seems like
because in each of your businesses, and we were talking off camera a little bit before, one of them is a printing business. And even a technology business, I feel like there are lots of moving parts, and you're going to deal with supply chain issues. You use very specific products in your printing business, and so I feel like it seems like some of the problems are similar, but perhaps elevated when it comes to the brewery.
Not necessarily. I think that the problems are, in terms of complexity and challenge. I wouldn't say that any of the industries is more than the other. It's just different, right? And believe it or not, the biggest challenge is people, and that has always been the biggest challenge. And it's it's a matter of getting the team to be in a place where they are motivated, where they share in the vision, where they really feel like they're a piece of something, right? And so that's something that we work very, very hard to do at Brewlando and at Price Chopper, which is the manufacturing business, and at Tap and Go, which is the tech business. We really try to foster an environment where everybody feels connected to the main piece.
But to be honest with you, just hearing the story, just not of the other companies, but just the brewing, I mean, you started with heart. And I think
wanting to do the right thing,
and so that pays it forward in so many ways. So it's also
I have had my moments where I've questioned myself. I've said several times, yes, that's what I get for that. But I think by far you're absolutely right, and that's how I think I live every day. It's that I focus on that. I focus on the reason why I decided to do this. I look at some of the lives that this decision has changed, and it's really encouraging, to sometimes step back and you look at it from a higher level. And I mean, it's only been, I can't believe it's been 3 years.
Time flies.
I was so anxious to hand those keys off to somebody else and just get a rent check and focus on my other business. But there's a saying that what's for you is going to be for you, so you just gotta
follow that path.
Go with it.
So selfishly, I'm interested. So you just acquired Sanford Brewing. When is it going to be the big switch over that you guys are opening up the doors, ready to welcome Seminole County and Northern Orange County?
So we are just awaiting our licenses for those 2 locations. Maitland is going to open before Sanford, just because we've had less to do out there. We are positively hoping to open those doors before the end of the month. And we are hoping to open Sanford in February, so within 4 weeks after that. And people are quite anxious. We're getting messages every day.
I'm sure. And so do you have any other kind of big goals in mind for the future of Brewlando?
Well, depends what meaning she has.
You know, my goal and my hope is that we continue doing the right thing. We continue to be good leaders. We continue to be good stewards of the opportunities and good ambassadors for the communities that we serve. And beyond that, we actually went into distribution with Brewlando a lot earlier than we had initially planned, and that's because our distributors saw the potential of the brand and liked what they saw and felt that the quality was exceptionally good. And so we decided to jump into that world of distribution, which is where the beers are available at restaurants and bars and other places. So we did, we're very innovative. Our head brewer is extremely talented, and you know, it's very much like a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. So there's, you know, there's a science behind beer as well, and so he is just extremely committed and diligent when it comes to creating new things. And we are offering a beer, a lager, an American lager style beer that's called Liquid Art, which will be available at Epcot's Art Festival this month, right? So the beer is now being pushed out into staple Orlando places like Disney and Universal with the support of our distributor. But we are also, with the acquisition of Sanford and Maitland, opening up the corridors into Brevard and Volusia County. So that's going to be exciting, that we're going to see our beers on tap in more places outside of Seminole and Orange County.
And asking for a friend, is Oktoberfest available year-round?
You know, everybody asks that. The Oktoberfest ended up being quite a hit. The Oktoberfest is a collab between...
It smells so good.
It's a collab between our head brewer and Tavistock's head brewer.
Okay.
So we have a co-packing relationship with Tavistock. We make a few of their beers for Park Pizza, and so we carry a couple of their handles in our tap room, and they carry Brewlando beer at theirs out in Lake Nona. But the Oktoberfest was a seasonal that we did with them, and we decided to can it. So
put this in your bag. Put this in your bag afterward.
You have to. It's very good. You've got to try it.
It looks amazing. And just also for people who maybe have never been to Brewlando, do you rent it out for special events? Do you offer any sort of food options?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So because the space is so big, we do have a beer garden in the back that opens out into like a back patio area, and then we have the front of the location, which we call our lounge. So you can rent either of those spaces, or a lot of people do full buyouts today, actually, ironically. Triumph Motorsports, motorbikes or motorsports?
Oh, Triumph.
Triumph Motorcycles. Sorry,
yeah.
Triumph. Today, Triumph Motorcycles is launching their 2025 models at Brewlando. So they've done a full buyout. They've taken all of the furniture out, and they're unveiling all of these new 2025 models of their motorcycles today.
I hope my husband's not watching this.
We do have a full-time food truck concept called the Grub Shack. That's available 6 days a week, and we're moving to make that 7. And then we do have catering menus when we have private events.
And Bavarian pretzels in the fall.
Correct. Yeah.
So where can people find you online to get more information and to check out what you have?
We are on all of the major social media platforms. So if you just search Brewlando, you'll find our handle on Instagram. It's Brewlando Brews. And then you'll also find the handle for the winery and tasting room. And our web address is brewlando.com. Pretty simple.
Yep.
And
I like it better than the City Beautiful.
Well, after I look back and I was like, and you know what's funny? James did not like the name when he first came.
You didn't like Brewlando?
He did not like the name, and I was like, hey, you know what? Do what you want with it.
What you see is what you got.
Yeah, do what you want with it. That's fine by me. If you want the name, you can have it. If you don't, that's fine. But it's funny because just 2 or 3 days ago, he's having a conversation with me. He goes, isn't it funny that I didn't like the name? And now it's just like it's just a part of it.
Right.
Exactly.
It's quick.
Rolls right off the tongue.
It's perfect.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you.
To everything you've accomplished so far.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
And we'll have to come in one day and yeah, you won't be able to get rid of us.
Well, please, anytime. We're fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Florida Foodie. We'd also like to thank our guest, Shara Pathak. You can learn more about her business at brewlando.com. You can also find it on social media. Just search Brewlando. Be sure to follow Lisa Bell online. Search Lisa Bell News on Facebook and Instagram. You can also find Candace Campos on social media. On Facebook, search Candace Campos News 6. And on Instagram, search Candace Campos, WKMG. Also, a big thank you to our entire production team. I'm the show's producer, Thomas Mates. Please take the time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you stream podcasts. And you can find videos of all of our podcasts on clickbrewlando.com and on YouTube. Just search for Florida Foodie.